Echo 5, do you copy? Echo 5.
Echo 2, good morning. Nice of you to drop by.
Feeling alright, sir? Thought we lost you.
Right now, I feel like I can take on this whole podcast myself.
I know what you mean. Ready to send that transmission to Echo Base?
Yes, sir. R10, patch through.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Hoth Transmissions. Today we are going to be jumping back into the Acolyte. And I believe we're on episode 4 at this point. And I know last week, episode 3, had a lot of different ideas, especially from the fan base and kind of with us. But episode 4 kind of brings it up just a little bit for me. There are still complaints that I see people have, and I'm not going to address like the crazy controversial ones because I don't really care about those. But a character shows up in this that doesn't make sense to me, but we'll get to that in a bit. So, episode 4, what'd you guys think?
I am still on the fence. I think I will not make up my mind about this show until
Until
I
it's
see
done.
at least the season finale. I loved the sets. The scenery was great. That's what I really enjoyed. I loved the sheer amount of lightsabers I saw. And I have spotted some parallels to other media and also Star Wars that I enjoy seeing. Other than that, I really honestly do not have an opinion on the episode. Like if it's good or bad, I'm really like right smack dab in the middle.
I think you kind of nailed it there though, because I've been saying it since the beginning. It's like I can't really judge the show until I see the final episode, because watching the first 2 episodes, like every time an episode ends, it's not like a cliffhanger. It's not like a normal ending to a normal TV show. It just seems like it's just cutting. And so I feel like we have to have the whole story because it just seems like the story just keeps continuing. And I hated how this episode ended because of that. I feel like the way this episode ended should have been the start of the next episode. But I mean, that's just me. But for this episode, I do have to say the acting was a lot better. They took a step up. The acting was a lot better because I know I had complaints on the last couple episodes because of it. But I think everybody kind of stepped it up in this episode. And I also like the scenery, a lot of the sets. Like a lot of that stuff is cool. And being able to see a little bit more into Jedi training and stuff like that is cool.
Yeah.
Sam, what about you?
Given how I've been really positive about the last 3 episodes, I can't say.
Are you and I swapping sides now?
I think so. No, I liked the episode again. I think it was a good one. Obviously, the sort of controversy aside, not so much the age of the character that we're going to be talking about, but more the fact that they'd already said that they're not going to include any characters that we've seen before, and then we get this one. Some of the acting to me felt a bit dodgy, but as a whole, I liked it. I wish we had more Wookiee.
Yeah, I was really disappointed about that. I'm not gonna lie.
Because it was kind of built up like it would be this big fight and then nothing. But the reveal of it, though, to counter that, I really enjoyed, because it was like we had no idea what had happened at that point until we saw, the lightsaber slash wound.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, okay, so this has gone sort of in a different direction now.
Yeah, a lot of the things that I thought were going to happen are kind of not going the way that I was thinking. And again, I'm still going to say, for a show being called The Acolyte, I really wanted to see some like dark side user like going crazy. And we kind of got this Acolyte who's like, oh, my sister's alive, so I'm going to go good again. And I do appreciate the love story between siblings here, that they have that connection, but I want to see an Acolyte, and so I'm kind of going with I keep calling him Jason because I can't think of the character's name. But
Chimere?
Chimere, there you go. I think he's playing a bigger role than he was letting on in the second episode. But
I truly started believing the real Acolyte is Chimere.
mhm.
And then we have the Sith Lord and the Sith Apprentice.
See, I'm not even sure there's an apprentice at this point. I think it's just the master and then Chimere and May. And I feel like they're kind of competing for that role of apprentice. But it doesn't seem like they're competing either, which kind of throws me off a bit.
Yeah. Because I mean, what they did in this episode is they served Chimere definitely as the red herring. Because
Yes.
with the placement and how he was missing from certain shots, but not from the others, and the way, for example, when he was talking to May about Soul, like the way he carried himself, his acting was literally screaming of certain Jar Jar Binks moments, like mind trick.
Mm-hmm.
Is it not? That's what made me. That's why I said, like, I think he's the Acolyte. I think May and Sha are just tools in a game at the moment.
Yeah, because they're sitting there walking towards finding the Wookiee Jedi Master. I forget his name, but they're going after him, and then she's like, "Have you ever seen the Master?" Blah, and then he's like, "Oh, I haven't." And then he quickly changes subjects and says, "Oh, look over there." And so he definitely has some like tells that he's not just some poison maker or some kind of alchemist. He's a little bit more than that. And because he's acting like a companion to May, like this is the one thing that I didn't like about it though, because like if they're supposed to be like dark, like they're evil technically because they're headed towards the Sith route, and they pull this whole thing, and Khmer is like, "Oh, I do care about you." It's like it's kind of not. That's not the personification I would see with what they're trying to do. I feel like they shouldn't care about each other because they're technically evil.
I think he is all like, so he's either okay, let me rephrase that. So I think he's the Acolyte. He might be the apprentice as well, but if he is the apprentice, then it's really not well done because then he is the apprentice. We just saw it. That's it. That's what we got from this episode, and I don't think that was the reveal. That just was not supposed to happen. So I think he's the Acolyte. And for example, how did Palpatine make Anakin think that he really cares about him, his career, and this and that? I think it's just a very similar path that I mean, this is manipulation in all of its forms. So I think it's not just like they're not supposed to have a relationship or care about each other. It's, I think, a form of manipulation.
I can run with that.
It is very similar to the Palpatine Anakin side of things, where it looks like Palpatine cares about Anakin, but it's for a greater goal, and that's definitely the vibe that I'm getting to sort of agree with Fluffy.
I am also very sad that we didn't see more of the Jedi Wookiee, Kalnaka, but maybe we will get more in forms of flashback or I mean, so far all three Jedi just died very quickly, easily,
Abruptly.
abruptly, inconspicuously. So maybe we will see these characters coming back in some shape or form. But it would really be a shame and such a waste of opportunity if they got rid of the Jedi Wookiee so quickly and like this.
Especially since they kind of like pushed it in the trailers and everything. Like they made him seem like he was gonna be a bigger deal than he was.
Yep, just like
And
Sarah.
yeah. They're just like, oh yeah, you want to see a Jedi Wookiee, so we'll put it in the trailer, hype people up. Oh, Trinity? Cool. All right. We'll throw her in there just to get her fans over here. And it's like, just kidding.
Nope.
What's that? You wanted more of these characters, but you had a whole 5 minutes of them.
Yeah. Do you guys love Squid Games? Well, Master Soul, let's go.
You people are so greedy. Yeah. I really like the set design of Kalnaka's home because it reminded me of Shrek's swamp. It even
Oh
had
yeah, true.
it even had like that keep out sign.
That is true. That is
So
true.
I really enjoyed seeing that because like his behavior from the previous episode is also very Shrek-like. Like, stay away from
Get
my
off my swamp.
yeah. Yeah. I really liked seeing that. I really enjoyed the set designs.
And I do like that they did answer my question because I know last couple episodes I was like, why is he kind of just hiding out on this planet? And they mentioned he's just stationed there. I was like, okay, go bring him back from his where he's stationed and then intervene if May's there, blah blah. And so I was like, okay, all right, that makes sense why he's there. Don't know the purpose of why he's stationed there, but we just know he's just on some kind of like quest or mission from the council. But I found it very interesting that there's a lightsaber wound and why the master is there.
Yeah.
Which raises a question because May, when she does her whole flip flop thing and ties him up, gets him up in the tree, it's just convenient that he's there and he knows she's going to struggle killing a Wookiee and he happens to be dead the moment she gets there. So either the master's been trailing her the whole time just to watch her do these things, or Kamir is the one that killed the Wookiee with a lightsaber. Because I was even telling my cousin when I saw it, like when they stopped for the rest, he's like, okay, you're right, you should rest because we can't have you losing your nerves. So let me go take care of it for you. Because he takes all his cloaks and everything off and he tosses it on the floor and then he's like, okay, I'm gonna go get you water. Then he picks everything up. And I was telling my cousin, I'm like, that was completely pointless. He just took everything off just to carry it. I was like, I didn't understand that. So he must have been hiding it like his lightsaber or something in there.
I think that's why I'm enjoying every episode of this series, because there's always that element of mystery and surprise that we've not had really for a very long time in Star Wars expanded media. You know, with Andor, we knew what would happen because we know what happens to Andor. In Mandalorian, yeah, we can kind of tell, but they're not going to kill off the main character like straight away.
No.
So, we knew that he would be fine, especially when it's announced that they're doing another season before that season ends. Whereas this
and then a movie now.
Yeah. Whereas this is full on uncharted territory with the questions of who is the master, apart from a character in Doctor Who, which I'm still hoping for a crossover. It's got to be.
I think this is what confuses me about the show too. Because I have no idea where we're going. That's why I'm always like, let me
on the
keep my
fence.
opinions.
Yeah, I mean, I do have hangups with the show, but I think that a lot of the fan base is over critiquing the show. And I know
Yeah.
even with episode 3, I kind of over critiqued a little bit too. But again, I gotta wait till the end. And now that we see this master here, I can tell the way the character was, it's a female. Just because of if you look at the figure, like you can tell that it's someone very slim and very feminine.
I thought the same, especially when they were like face to face with Osha. I
Mhm.
thought the same. That's why I thought, okay, this is Indara.
Oh, you're thinking Indara.
Yeah, I have like I think the Acolyte is Chimere. I think the apprentice is Indara. I just don't know the master. Because
Venestra has to be.
Yeah. See,
what?
I think May is just a pawn in this because the Acolyte's rules are you can't kill with a weapon. Now, technically, if it's Chimere, he's not killed with a weapon himself. He's got May to do it.
Exactly.
That is true.
Master. So it's a loophole, but it's a very interesting one if that is true.
Because he did say she failed. He's like, you failed twice, Jake. Now I did it my own way. He's like, well, you're not supposed to use weapon in. First time you did it with kunai. Second time you used poison.
I was thinking the same thing. I think because also Chimere has information that he lets slip that he's not supposed to have. So I think Chimere has some kind of connection, and he is the Acolyte, and he is actually like using May and Osha as his weapons to kill through this list of Jedi. So I think we are hopefully going to see a backstory of him as well and see what is there. When because you guys said Vernestra, she looks at the hologram and says immediately, like, I can see it from a hologram that it was like the Acolyte was trained by a Jedi. That's why I'm also thinking Indara. But if it's Vernestra, if the master or the apprentice, I mean, it'd be great. I really, really dislike the character. Because it's really well done.
Yeah. I think
I'm
that's the
only.
thing.
No, go ahead.
I think that's the thing, though, is that there's so many red herrings in this because of how the actors play the characters that it could be anyone at this point. And again, I think that's why I'm enjoying it for what it is.
And I don't think it's Indara. The only reason why I say that, because I do like that theory, but we saw her get hit with a kunai. And the Jedi Order, I'm assuming, has already got the body and done the fire ritual with it, because they talk, as a matter of fact, like, yeah, she is dead. Like, they've seen the body, they've taken care of it already.
Unless it's Venestra that is in charge and she's...
Aha.
Oh, there you go. She's sort of pulling the strings.
Yeah, there could always be funny business.
Yeah, because we got a certain character that shouldn't exist that they're kind of turning into. He might be hiding something later on in the prequels when we see him.
It might also be that maybe because of the acting, I'm saying this, maybe the actors also were told to keep their acting a certain way so that we don't immediately get the answers that we're looking for. Because May's acting was also like that we did not know if she was truly evil or did she have another. Like, I think so far even Chimere, he started way goofier, but in this episode, he was much more
serious
manipulative and serious. Exactly. So I think that might be, because it makes it difficult to watch at some point, like when the acting is really dodgy. But I also thought, for example, in this episode, the difference between Osha and May was really well played by the actress. Because in the first episodes, I really thought, okay, this is the same character. There's no difference between the characters, but I think she started adding more nuance and differentiation for the way that she plays the two characters, which makes me happy.
That's why I said that the acting in this episode was a huge step up from the last three. I think everybody by this time they're comfortable with the characters now. That now they can really own the characters. I think it was just because before they're kind of just like, okay, don't know who these characters are. Like Jackie and Soul were pretty much the only ones that I was like, okay, these guys stand out. And then now this episode, we got 9 Jedi, and we got 3 that are important. The other ones, one of them does talk a few times, but I think they're just there just for show. And me and my cousin were thinking, like, why do we need 9 Jedi to go take out one acolyte that doesn't even have a lightsaber? And so I'm thinking, like, this is going to turn into a whole Palpatine moment with Mace and 3 Jedi coming to arrest him, and then all of a sudden, all the least important ones die.
Well, we did see how easy it was for the Master to push back all those Jedi. So I'm kind of hoping and that as much as I like all the death in all the other Star Wars things, Death of Jedi seems to be the right way to go. I kind of want that again. As Fluffy's now hiding her face because, I had to mention it. It's me. But
Yeah,
I do hope that we do get like a decent fight where some of the Jedi do die. Maybe not Beefcake because, we want Fluffy to not be sad.
Maybe they
and I'm liking his character.
Wise.
But I mean, that's where the writing kind of falls for me is, yes, we got Coyote Mundi back, which he shouldn't be alive at this point, because I think in the expanded universe and pre Disney, I think their species only lived up to about 100 years. So he shouldn't be alive at this point. And they're kind of changing that up, which, I mean, honestly not really a big deal, because, I mean, Yoda lived to 900 years, so we can easily just change, okay, Coyote Mundi's species live for like a couple hundred years. I mean, Wookiees live for, I think, like 300. So, I mean, not an issue for me on this at all. The only issue that I've come now with is Coyote is the one that in The Phantom Menace said, oh, the Sith have been extinct for over a millennia.
Yep.
And then here he is part of this council, and they're talking about a master and an apprentice and this acolyte. And so either this is technically not considered a Sith because Vanestra does mention that they talk about like different Force cells, like splinter cells or something like that, like clans. Yep. And so that would be the only way that they could really write it out as not being a Sith, just another clan that uses the Force and happens to have red lightsabers. That'd be the only way they could really write it out.
I mean, if we look at Inquisitors, they're not Sith. They're dark side users, but they're not called Sith.
Right.
So I kind of think that from a certain point of view, to quote Obi-Wan, I'm just going to call him Kai because it's easier. He was so much easier. He was technically correct because the Sith, as we know them and as the Jedi know them, haven't been seen for millennia. Whether there's dark side users that would use red lightsabers, that's a whole other story.
I was gonna say, you would expect that at some point, anyways. Though within 1,000 years, a Jedi falling to the dark side, but not going full Sith.
Yeah, so that's my theory on it, is that he looked into the future, he saw what Obi-Wan said to Luke from a certain point of view. And also, Anakin was definitely right with that. But no, I genuinely think that they're not going to call the Master a Sith Lord.
I don't think we're going to hear that term used at all.
Yeah, I think it's going to keep continuity that way, but he will know of this dark side user, which I'm fine with.
Which I am too, because I mean, even when you look over into Rebels, like Kanan and Ezra, they fight the Inquisitors and stuff like that, and it's just like, okay, yeah, we're fighting you, blah blah blah. And then the moment they see Vader, they're like, oh, I feel cold and a lot of hate, and like the whole feel of Vader coming in because he is Sith. Kanan's like, yeah, this isn't like the Inquisitors. This guy is much more powerful. And so the fact that these Jedi see this guy in the forest, I don't think they felt the same kind of intensity that a Sith Lord would bring. More kind of like just, okay, well, we got this guy or lady. I'm assuming it's a lady. Still saying Vanessa. So we got this dark side user coming at them, and definitely strong in the Force, but it might be different. Although I hated the helmet. I'm sorry. I don't know who else, if anybody disagrees with me on that. I apologize. I couldn't.
Teeth. The teeth on it, I can't stand it.
Wasn't it Fluffy the one that was saying it was like tubes or something on the mask? Somebody, I was talking to somebody and they said it looked like more like tubes.
No, it wasn't me, but yeah, I don't like the mask design either. Unfortunately, I mean, Darth Vader wore a mask because of a reason, but then we saw Kylo Ren wearing a mask like that. I don't know why we need another Sith, dark side user, whatever, wearing a similar helmet situation. Okay, of course, their identity is secret, but there must be a better way to do that because the mask designs are not getting better.
No, because I mean, Kylo Ren only wore the mask just because he was trying to imitate Vader.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we do look into legends, like even with Knights of the Old Republic, Darth Revan wore a mask, Darth Nihilus, and a few other notable Sith characters wore masks. I think it's just a Sith thing, like you said, to hide their identity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Palpatine did it so well
Exactly.
as Darth Sidious, and he didn't need a mask. He just used shadows and lighting to be able to hide his identity.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying like there has to be a better way. There are different options. I think
Or, or find better costume designers so we don't have to sit here and complain about it.
or that. Yeah.
Because when they come on screen, you want them to look badass. You want them to like cool.
Mm.
But this one it just looks so goofy because it looks like the mask is just smiling. And it kind of reminds me more like a reptile. Like just the way the face is and design. And if I were that dark side user and I was like, okay, Osha, what's up? The Jedi told you to stay behind them, so guess what? You're the first person I get to see. And I'm face to face with you. Let me just use 2 fingers to throw you to the side. It's like, no, just kill her. But not even plot armor, obviously.
It would have made for an interesting episode.
Yeah.
What a way to end it.
Also,
honestly,
I think they still need May and Asha because I think they are still going to do some work on the Force dyad.
I think that too, but I mean, at this point, the master's there. Probably overheard her talking to Kamir about, no, Osha's alive, so that changes everything. So my loyalty is to her. It's like, oh no, let's kill Osha and get rid of that whole loyalty thing. It's like, yeah, you don't do what I tell you. What I did to your sister is going to happen to you next, and kind of control it that way. I think that would have been a very interesting thing.
Could be.
But obviously, they have a different story in mind. So
Yeah.
plot armor saves her from that.
Usually, I'm very good at guessing how things are going to go. But so far, I am completely clueless. And I don't know if this is good or bad.
It's good.
Well, based on the story, I can see within 100 years the Jedi are gonna fall. I think that's what they're leading to. I'm just kidding.
I think
But-
it might be a Skywalker as well that'll do it. That name just comes to my mind.
Yeah,
Maybe an order like 66.
Dude.
I'm just wondering what happened to the first 65 orders.
Well, one is a full English breakfast.
But you guys need better bacon. kidding.
Actually,
Oh,
I'll give you
man.
that one.
Oh God.
Sidetracking aside.
Yeah. I would like to the joke brought us somewhere nice, the fall of the Jedi Order. I think also like I heard the character name as Ki Adi Mundi, but if it's Kai, then it's Kai.
It's probably key. I'm saying it the way that I see it. I actually don't know the correct pronunciation. So if you know it as key, Adi, then
Yeah.
that's probably correct. So sorry,
Whatever.
anybody listen to us that it.
Wait, I mean,
Fluffy's right.
Jedi beefcake. People know what our deal is. It's gonna be
Fair
fun.
enough.
I think this might also be just to show how corrupt the Jedi Council in the times of Phantom Menace is, because they
Mhm.
even kept that information that Sith were actually seen and everything, but it was kept to themselves because they said, Vernestra said we should not let this leak because it would be a political problem for us, right? It could also be just that case in the High Council when they are not saying or acknowledging the existence of the Sith to the non-council members. So this could be a thing. Because
Which is why they give Qui-Gon such a hard time when he comes in saying, "Hey, I just saw a red lightsaber dude." They're like, no, that's impossible.
Exactly. Like, keep it to yourself. You should have just gone one-on-one, not make a big deal out of
Dang it,
this.
you survived? Darn it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think, at least, because
Jedi conspiracy.
yeah, that is what I think in that case. Also, I'm very happy that, okay, we see Ki Adi Mundi, and that is like chronologically is not happening, but we also see a Keldor species, and
Which is not Plo Koon.
exactly. I'm very happy that it's not Plo Koon, because in the same episode with Ki Adi Mundi and Plo Koon, that would have been way too much. I think also because at least I have a better relationship with Plo Koon, relationship in
Because of Ahsoka.
quotation marks.
I gotcha.
Because of Ahsoka, exactly. That I'm actually happy that they let that character alone, at least for the time being, and went with Ki Adi Mundi instead.
And I mean, if you're gonna do it, they should have just brought Yoda in, because literally in an interview, Leslie Headland's like, "No, we're just focusing on new characters and not bringing any familiar characters." And then all of a sudden, here we got Ki Adi. It's like, okay, now where's my Yoda? And Yaddle. Those are the only two characters that should be alive at this point. Yoda and Yaddle.
Yaddle I'll agree with.
Yeah,
the can always have more Yaddle.
With Yoda, the character is even bigger than the franchise. Even if people do not know what Star Wars is, they know who Yoda is.
Yoda. But I did see an interview with Leslie. I think she did say that Yoda was off limits. I think they told her she could not use Yoda. And I think because Yoda is like you said, such an iconic character, that he has to be dealt with the right hands. Only people that at this point that I'd be comfortable using Yoda is probably Dave Filoni
and Favreau.
And Favreau.
Yeah.
Anybody else touching Yoda?
Yep.
Maybe
I mean,
no, just those two. I think everybody else doesn't know Star Wars enough, or doesn't know Yoda enough that I mean, because Dave Filoni wrote Yoda so well in the Clone Wars, and even utilized his wisdom in Rebels, because he
yeah,
technically should not have shown up on Rebels, but they wrote it in such a way that it worked. And I think if they're to bring Yoda into this series, especially with the writing really isn't top tier on this show, that Yoda just wouldn't fit with this story.
I do have one question on the Yoda thing, and it is more sort of to the forefront now that we have got a legacy character from the prequel trilogy. Is
Mm-hmm.
do you think Yoda would know about all of this? Like, because obviously he's not on the council at this time. So
That we know.
That we know of, yeah. He
Because I don't think that group that we saw was the council. I think it was just a bunch of Jedi that were just in on the secret.
Which would make more sense to my answer then, because it was basically, do you think Yoda actually knows of what's going on? Because obviously he would be 800 and something at the time of the Acolyte taking place.
I would probably say if he's on the council, then probably. And it's not to ruin Yoda's character. It's only because when we get into Clone Wars, Yoda is so into the Jedi arrogance. And it's not until that Yoda has his own arc, I think in season 6, where he goes and meets the Wills, and he comes face to face with his dark side and then sees what has to happen for the future of the Jedi, is when Yoda kind of takes a step back, and now he even knows that part, but he can't say anything because he knows this has to happen. But I think at this point, I think Yoda is probably brainwashed into the Jedi arrogance. Not to say that Yoda's a bad character, that he's doing it willingly, but I think the intentions, like they're kind of bringing, is like, if people found out about this, it's going to cause a stir. And I don't think that the Jedi are hiding this just to keep it secret for themselves. I think it's just for the better. I want to say for the what's the word I'm looking for? Just to keep chaos from springing.
So it's for the greater good.
There you go. That's the word I was looking for. Even though this is the beginning of the fall of the Jedi.
Think that there is. I think Vernestra. I don't think Vernestra is in the council. We don't have information about that, right? I think
We just kind of assumed, I believe. I
Yeah.
don't think we've got.
Exactly. I think she has a high rank, but she's not on the council, and I think she is also trying to let this how do I say that, like, failure be heard by the council. I think the council does not know what is happening. At
Because maybe
least
the council is faced deep into politics, and so they're trying to keep it down. Okay, let's not bring it up to them because. But I feel like they should be aware at some point, or to some degree.
Because that's what I think too, because there are dead Jedi that we're talking about here. So I think Vernestra is doing something to keep all of this information somehow under control. Because
So maybe the council is aware of it, but Venestra is the one that they tasked to handle it.
Could be. Because she's cunning enough to be doing something like this. So either the council does not know, or the council is actually choosing to handle this through Vernestra and through trickery and cunning.
Because I mean, the Jedi are organized, so I mean, it would just make sense that, okay, in case this situation happens, we have Jedi that are trained to deal with this, and we'll put them in charge, and they'll report to us, and we'll convene and counsel as needed.
I like these theories. I've just been sat here like, you know what, this is. Part of me's like, that would make for a much better series, despite the fact I am enjoying watching The Acolyte.
Yeah.
I'm now.
I mean, the Acolyte is good. It's just dodgy writing.
Yeah, and I mean, we've said it before that Star Wars, especially under George Lucas, wasn't exactly known for its stellar writing.
I liked it better, though.
But it's like, what Harrison Ford said is that you can write this stuff, but you can't say it. And it's very much kind of gone back to that now, where they've got scripts that, yeah, they're words, but they're not like. It's like I said, that it's Star Wars, but it's not Star Wars.
I mean, I said that in the beginning too. Like when I saw the first 2 episodes, I was saying, okay, this is Star Wars, but it doesn't feel like Star Wars because it's set 100 years before. So it's got a different tone and different feeling. I would have liked more of an Andor tone to it, but
Yeah.
Because like I was talking with my cousin, we're thinking like this probably would have done a lot better if they did it as an animated series, especially with like the CGI, like even Basil.
Oh.
I was waiting for this. Yay!
What was it?
Go, Papa.
There's a guy. There's this guy that I follow on Instagram. I've sent Fluffy a few of them. I think I sent Sam one, and this guy does like these deep fakes of all the characters like Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, just chilling on a couch, like reviewing things. His name's Charlie Hopkins. So shout out to that guy because he's pretty hilarious. But they did a skit where they're kind of talking about Basil, and it's like, okay, well, kind of sucks for this guy because the only missions he gets to go on are tracking missions. And it's like, and they're sitting there joking around. It's like, oh yeah, yeah, in the Jedi archives, every Jedi has a piece of laundry or something just chilling there. So if one of us goes lost, Basil just sniffs it out. It's like, fine, and we have to switch it out every couple of years to keep the scent fresh.
So I'm going to throw this out there. One, I actually quite liked Basil as a character.
I liked him, but I feel like he was kind of pointless. Like they didn't need him.
That leads me to point 2. Because the Master turned up behind everyone else. So I'm getting to a thing where it's like, did Basil have his mind controlled to kill the Wookiee? He was.
I don't know if he had a lightsaber.
He's small. He's got to have something hidden. He could have found one. He could have found the Wookiee's lightsaber.
I mean, you do raise a very interesting point because Kalnaka was just chilling in the chair, as if like if the Sith Lord walked in there and just hit him with a lightsaber, Kalnaka would not be still on the chair. So he must have had seen a familiar face that he was comfortable enough that it would have been a shock. So Basil's the master.
Maybe Basil's actually just stilts that he's on. He's just.
Oh my goodness.
But no, I mean, maybe there was some sort of mind control, which we've already seen in the previous episode. That
with Torben.
Yeah, so maybe that took play again, because maybe the Master knows of it.
And speaking of Torben, though, because I remember seeing in the trailer, Torben is seen fighting somebody. So I think we are going to get more flashbacks from what happened on that side. I think we're going to get more story on that.
Yeah.
So mind control, I won't put it past that. That's actually a good theory, Sam. Interesting that you use Basil.
What I really disliked about Basil is that that's like a sentient, very smart species being used as a hound, basically.
Yeah.
I did not like that at all.
That's why I said he just seemed like very pointless character. I mean, 9 Jedi there, and none of them can use the Force to sit there and feel where Count Alka's at. They have to use a little smart dog, basically.
Yeah, that cannot be that species. That's very weird. But that again could also be the hubris of Jedi using different classes of beings just like this, because it was really like taking the piece of cloth whatever to right up to his face and be like, that's
Sniff this out.
horrible. That is really bad. Yeah.
He would make a great alarm system, though. I mean, he is like a good guard dog. Runs into May and just starts howling.
Yeah, see, that's not what we're supposed to think about species like that. Yeah, I mean, what?
Like,
Why not
again,
use
the
it
arrogance of the Jedi.
with a tracker that like scans something, blah blah. I'm sure they could have written that in. But yeah, I think they are really like making us see the worst of Jedi. That brings me to Soul using his lightsaber as a light source after what was it called? That humongous
Oh, it looked like a
flying.
giant flying beetle.
Yeah.
Reminded me
And
of like a flying roly-poly.
and then just like killing it, and Osha saying like, "Oh, I disturbed it and I caused it to die," and Jackie saying it's a joy to watch.
It's an honor. No, it's an honor to see something become part of the Force.
It's an honor. Okay, joy maybe
or something like that.
Something similar, which was also said in the Revenge of the Sith from Yoda to Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
Which is quite crazy in my opinion. They should be valuing life as it is, like living force and everything, a bit more.
And that's kind of how I see Osha, because Osha's starting to feel the Force, and she's respecting the living Force because it's within everything. So she's like, yeah, I felt something in it. That's what drew me to it. And by doing that, I caused this. And I think that's kind of showing us a little into Osha's mind as well. Unless maybe I'm giving them a better story than what they actually wrote the character. Is she might have a fear of what the Force could do. Kind of like Aang when he used the fire and he ended up burning Katara, and he put a block on himself because he was afraid of what damage he could do with it. And I feel Osha's kind of fearing the Force to the point where she's put a mental block, maybe because of the loss of her sister.
That actually sounds fantastic.
Do we know why? I can't remember, to be fair. Do we know why Oshi left the Jedi? Because she said that she left, not that she was kicked out.
See, I was always under the impression that it was a mutual thing. Like, she wasn't showing enough potential, and she wasn't strong enough. So it was a discussion between her and the council. And so she may have been manipulated to leave, saying, okay, you're not good enough to be here. She's like, okay, I'll leave. Because, like I said, like when May died, or in her mind, she probably put a block and she can't touch it. Now that she sees that May's alive, she's starting to connect to the Force again a different way. And she even mentions it to Soul. She's like, I'm ready now. She's like, I'm starting to feel things again.
Okay, yeah, I think I misinterpreted that in my head because I thought she was suffering because of her attachments, and that's why, like, it was a mutual discussion for her to leave the order. But those attachments might have actually caused her to not utilize the Force as she should or connect with it, because the and Katara parallel also makes a lot of sense in that case.
Yeah, because she wouldn't have made that comment about the flying roly-poly. It's like, okay, I connected to the Force, connected to this animal, and then I caused its death. She seemed very remorseful that she used that her connection to the Force killed that animal or that creature. And like I said, this could just be me writing a better character in my head, because, or maybe the first few episodes have just been very kind of like bleh, and maybe the characters are starting to become more complicated, and we're actually starting to see their characters unfold into something better than what we've seen. Because even Yord, because this is the other thing that, speaking of Osha, because at this point, May is excited to see that Osha's alive. Her whole mentality changes, saying, okay, well, I don't need to kill Jedi now because Osha's alive now. Then you got Osha on the other side, who's like, oh, nope, May's alive. She's murdered 2 Jedi. I don't care if she's gonna, whatever I say is gonna change her or not. Yord, you need to kill her if things go the opposite way. Like, she's just like, yeah, go ahead and kill May. I don't care. And then May's like, nope, I'm gonna betray this guy that's gonna kill me so I can go back to my sister. So I found that very interesting. And I'm not sure what you guys were thinking on that, or if you guys even had thoughts on that, or. But now that I brought it up, I'm curious what you guys think.
I think the dynamics changed between the sisters. Definitely in the way that May is now looking past what she's done to sort of bring her future with her sister to what it should be, you know, them sailing off into the sunset, happy ending. Whereas Oshi's like, bitch, please, she's killed Jedi. Like, she's not gonna stop. She's gone too far, and it's like, you know, so I think the dynamic of sibling caring has definitely changed, especially when we see how hesitant Oshi was initially to stun her sister.
Because she even says, I don't want to hesitate again. So Yord, you need to do this for me because you're more capable. And it's very interesting because I don't think May sees it as kind of like going off into the sunset, because she's said that she's going to turn herself in, and then Kamir was like, oh, they're going to put you in jail and stuff like that. And she's like, well, if that's what I need to do to be with my sister, then that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
What I was thinking was that Osha has a much stronger sense of right and wrong, and she knows her boundaries. Like, she also knows if it was up to her that she wouldn't be able to kill her sister, which is completely understandable, and she shouldn't. And
she's going to ask a Jedi that shouldn't do it to do it.
Yeah, exactly. To be fair, whenever Jedi Knight Beefcake talks, I don't hear anything. I'm like, do.
I liked his response, though. He did have a good response. He's like, Soul is a wise Jedi. So if he thinks whatever he says is going to help, then that's what we should hold on to.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it is actually because he respects Soul as it is, but I think he respects the hierarchy within the Jedi.
Respects the title.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think.
I agree.
Yeah, I honestly, now that you've said it, I did not listen to this conversation at all. All I was thinking was, like, because he says before, like, he understands Basil because he decided to learn uncommon languages, and I was like, oh. And that was it for me.
I will add as well that I like how Oshi asked a friend to, you know, someone that she trusted instead of her former
That's right, because
master.
they grew together.
Yeah, whereas I kind of felt like if she had asked Soul, it'll be admitting yet another failure, because in her mind she's let him down by leaving the Jedi, by not being, the apprentice that she could have been to him. So I did like that she went to the friend instead of the master.
I'm not gonna lie, I keep forgetting that they were friends. Like they introduced that dynamic in the first episode, but they haven't really kept that going on the following episodes because he's keeping his distance and kind of putting a whole barrier. But Osha's really not trying to push. She hasn't really shown any interest to push against that barrier to reestablish a connection until this moment.
I think Yord's barrier was so high up from the first episode because she tried joking around and it backfired.
Yeah.
That would if it was a real exchange between two people, it would feel extremely uncomfortable. So I understand why she is also keeping her distance while still maintaining some form of trust and understanding.
Yeah, because especially the way he treats her, she's like, okay, well, I'm not wearing the civilian robes, and then here she is wearing civilian robes. And if Yord didn't want her to have a blaster in the first place, why'd they give it to her? She's just like, oh, I need that blaster. It's the property of the Jedi. Okay, then why'd you give it to her? And then they get distracted, and that whole conversation's gone.
Yeah. You are right about some dialogue being really dodgy. Like they
That's what I'm saying. Like the writing.
Yeah. For me, like that dialogue is literally they needed a setup. They needed to go from one place to another. And because of how they set up this entire planet and how you cannot just simply end up somewhere just like
because it's mostly uncharted. Bounty hunters don't really go to it. Like they set it up, like you said, they set it up very well.
Yeah, exactly. Like that part was executed really well, but the dialogue and the side storylines that are supposed to take place in that time, that is quite weak.
Yeah, I mean, we did get the Fellowship of the Nine. Because I will say, it did kind of remind me a little bit of Lord of the Rings with the traveling.
Yeah.
Like how we're hiking up a mountain, scene change, now we're in a forest,
As soon as I saw the set, I was like, oh my, is this New Zealand? It's apparently Portugal, which
really?
In Portugal, somewhere called Madeira, that has not actually been used maybe until this far in TV or film as a location.
Interesting.
Really, really pretty. I
was gonna say.
Yeah.
Because I love nature and stuff, so like you said, really pretty. Like I could not agree with you anymore. Like that's one of the things that I loved about it because we don't really get to see too many forest scenes. I think the last one that I distinctly remember is Return of the Jedi. But I can't remember really any other forest spot other than maybe Attack of the Clones with the brief moment with the Clone Wars, like Yoda being there. But there's really like no, it was mostly like the beach fights there that we saw, not really any forest. So it's really cool to kind of see this dark toned setting.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I still hate about the Acolyte, we do not need to see. Oh no, there. Like I said it in the first episode, I'm saying it now. I do not need to see the name of the planet when we go to a new planet.
Oh yeah.
No.
Because they still did that with Coruscant this episode too.
Yeah. It's like we know it's the Jedi Temple. We have seen it so many times. We do not need to know that that's where they are.
What's that planet called? It's got a bunch of. It's like a city that's above the surface, and it's got one like peak that they got set up in one spot. What's the name of that planet again? Can't remember. It's like the center of the whole galaxy. It's like
it's ridiculous, you know.
No, I will fight this battle. No,
I do not need to see how to spell a planet. for me, it takes me out of that moment, because when you've got the beautiful scenery, so like with the forestry, beautiful, and then you had the white lettering over it, and I'm like, no, I don't need to see that. Give me the
Implement it into
planet.
dialogue.
Put it in dialogue. That's fine. I can live with that. Anything else, get it gone.
I mean, they
Not
got
my
cheesy
thing.
dialogue as it is. They could. Oh, we're approaching Kofor. Okay, cool.
I enjoy title cards a lot. I've learned to enjoy them while watching Guardians of the Galaxy and the consecutive Marvel movies that utilizes title cards. And I would like to say that as the Star Wars community, we are very well aware of what Coruscant is, where it is, and where the Jedi Temple is, and this and that. But this show is not just made for us. There are people
Oh,
maybe
we can tell.
Star Wars for the first time, and I'm glad that they get to see the planet's names.
But we've seen the planet's name already. That's what I'm saying. Like, every time we go to Coruscant, I don't need to know that we're going to Coruscant. Like,
What if they
it's
skip the first 3 episodes?
It's like, it's the Jedi Temple. We know where that is. Like, have it in the first one. That's fine. I'll let it go. Subsequent ones where it's the same buildings that they're showing. If it was a different part of Coruscant, maybe I'll allow it. But we'd have to say, like, title card for Coruscant, and then put whereabouts on Coruscant it is if it's a different part. Because, like Fluffy said, to agree with her point to a degree, there are different places that could be seen. Sometimes it is good to know where we are. Coruscant, while it is a giant city planet, has got different sectors and all of that. So it would be good to know that we are on Coruscant, but it's just a part that we're not familiar with from the bits that we've seen already. But when it is quite literally a shot of the Jedi Temple, we know where that is. We don't need to know again. Like, it really bugs me when I see things like that.
That's fair. That's fair. I can see that. Like, I'm kind of the same way, but I mean, it actually doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoy title card aesthetics. I
Are
like
you one of
them.
those people that like put on subtitles when you watch movies too, or TV
Yeah.
shows? That's probably why. That's probably why. I have a lot of friends that will put on subtitles, and it drives me nuts. Like, I don't mind a title card, but constant subtitles takes me, like, I don't want to be focused on reading the dialogue rather than listening to it.
Yeah.
So I can be okay with title cards.
The thing is, though, gentlemen, you both grew up with English as your first language.
That's fair
I
too.
learned the language by watching these media in their original language while reading the subtitles in my language growing up. And then I graduated into, oh, I understand everything, but let me see the CC as well. So that's how I got used to it. So for me, for example, reading a subtitle is basically second nature. My brain just does that, and I keep it always on. And it's just, yeah, it just for me is like second nature to read those things. So
That's fair enough.
Yeah, like,
think,
I mean, I don't look down on people that do subtitles. So, but that makes total sense of why you're comfortable with it.
yep, exactly. Like for me, it's just a part of the thing. It's has always been there.
yeah. I think I wouldn't hate it as much as I do if the location title cards are maybe in like the top left corner. So if I'm watching it, it can be there and I can sort of notice it. But when you've got like a very nice looking establishing shot of a planet that we've never seen before, that's forestry and looks really good, I don't want to know the name. I just want to be thrown into that world. And maybe one of the corners of the screen, I'll be fine with it because I don't have to pay attention.
I think it's just because we're so used to the prequels and the originals to where we are just dropped into it and not told what it is until the dialogue brings it up. And I think that's just what you're familiar with when it comes to Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think what would be better with a title card, though, is if they started in Arabic and then it translated into English and then disappeared.
Oh, there is a franchise that does that. Is it?
Mhm.
I think that's Guardians.
I think
of
Marvel's. Yeah, I was gonna say. I think Marvel's done it.
Yeah.
I really like that format.
That's really good. I also really enjoy, for example, the aesthetics of the title cards in Dune.
Oh yeah, Dune was good.
Dune does it really well too.
Hmm. But I think just for like Sam and I, it just seems very uncommonplace just because we're used to every other Star Wars project not doing that. And so I think there's one other Star Wars project that did that. Was it Mandalorian that did that, or
was it Rogue One?
Could have been, yeah, Rogue One. Rogue One's the one that did it.
Yeah, could be. Could be.
Yeah, no, I mean, it annoys me, but I can also see it from Fluffy's point of view that that's how she, grew up.
And they've actually been doing studies like this generation or just like this era of time. A lot of people put on subtitles now. Like the majority of people use subtitles now whenever they're watching anything. And so I think that's just part of today's style. So I think that's just how it is.
For me,
we're probably the minority.
It's not just also about the subtitles. I don't think of the title cards as in the same sense of subtitles. But for example, I enjoy the fact that our knowledge of certain things are not taken for granted, because it makes it very difficult for newer fans to get into things because they're being thrown from one planet to other. And I understand that as well.
Especially when they keep making new planets.
Yeah.
Because
it just gets overwhelming.
I understand that they could say Kofar a couple of times, but once you see a forest planet with a Wookiee in it, you're gonna start calling it Kashyyyk. And sure. It's just that's also like I enjoy that as well. I like that they take my hand and they're like, here, we're here, but that might be something that you guys do not enjoy. It's something that I truly do.
Very cool. We got a 15-minute discussion on that. That's cool. About title cards. Did not see that coming. Thanks, Sam. Architecture and title cards. So now we come to the end of the episode, and it just ends with her force pushing 9 Jedi back, or actually 8 Jedi. I think Osha's number 9, and she's already thrown aside, and she's technically not a Jedi, but still part of the Fellowship of the 9. But the rest of them got pushed back, and then it just ends. I hated that. That should have been the beginning of the next episode. I think they should have just cut it with the Master just staring intensely at Osha, and then it cuts right there. Then the next episode starts with her being thrown aside, and then the fight with the Jedi happened. I just find the way that they end the episodes so awkward. And
see, I wanna agree with you, but at the same time, it's like until we know how the next episode begins, it's like I quite liked how it ended with this, the mysterious dark side user appearing and just,
kind of floating down, by the way. Did the whole Count Dooku levitation kind of like coming down from a higher up spot, which was interesting.
Yeah, so we know that this dark side user means business. It's just like I liked how easy it was for them to just brush everyone off without, with a single flick of the wrist. And I think that was a good place to end it because we don't know how the next one's going to begin. If the next episode begins terribly and sort of doesn't pick up on any part of what's happened, then I'll,
Like Last Jedi from Force Awakens.
yeah, I'll completely agree. But right now, it's like I would be happy with either ending, with either the one that you suggested or the one that we got.
Yeah. I just personally, I don't like how powerful this entity is. I mean, they have to be because there's 8 Jedi there, but these Jedi are sitting there staring at them, and to be caught off guard like that says that these Jedi aren't as skilled as they should be. It kind of makes them seem weak if they're able to be thrown back by one person.
That's the thing. Maybe they are not one person. Maybe there are
We
people.
are many.
Maybe they are many. Power of 1, power of 2.
So, I mean, maybe Chimer's there just hiding in the background. It's like, okay, waiting for the cue. All right. Force push together. Let's go.
Okay, that sounds silly. All right.
I wasn't trying to make your idea sound silly, but that's just what came to mind.
1, 2, 3. Every single time we try to do the closing of the podcast. Let's go.
Should that be the new closing for the Acolyte? Is we are one, we are two, we are many.
No. I just got used to saying always.
Oh, I was kidding. I would never do that though.
I cannot have that. What did I want to say before we went?
We were talking about like maybe it's not the master.
Yeah, no.
The only one.
Oh, okay. The cutting of the episode. So the thing is, as I said when we were recording for the second episode, I think, but the 5th episode is supposed to be the mind-blowing one. So maybe that's why that's exactly where they cut it off, and then we just somehow, I think there will be a time jump. I think we will not immediately start. I think there will be like either a flashback. Or something. Yeah. And then
I'd be so mad if they did another whole episode on a flashback. Because it kind of takes me out of the story when they do that, though. Like, do like a flashback, kind of like how they did in Andor, and then bring you back to tie it into why it makes sense to have it at that point. But like the first 2 episodes were great, and then we got a whole flashback episode. Then we got this episode, and if they do another flashback episode, it's gonna pull me out of the story a little bit, just because they're building up to something, and the execution's kind of rough.
I'll agree with that, to be honest. I liked the flashback episode as the 3rd one because we was introduced to the characters prior to that, and now when
we got their story.
Yeah. Whereas if we have another flashback so late in the game, I think that would take me out of it, because what more do we need to know? Like we know
the Jedi side.
Yes, but no.
Because like in the trailer, we do get to see Torben fighting another Jedi.
I think so, yeah. I think it's Torben and Kelnaka, right?
I believe so, yeah. So I think we will get more of Kelnaka actually fighting.
I mean,
because we do see him with a lightsaber.
Of the scar, for sure.
So maybe Kelnaka is the one that gives him that scar.
I am quite sure about that. And one of them is under some type of mind control something.
So here's my question, though. because most of what we've seen in these first 4 episodes have been all done in the trailer, except for that one scene that we're talking about with Konok and Torben. From here on out, we don't know anything that's been seen in the trailer, and that I personally can think of at the moment. So I'm wondering if we're going to be introduced to more planets, or if the rest of the narrative is just going to be here on Kofor.
Have we seen the lightsaber whip properly yet?
Not yet. I think that's going to come out in the next episode. I can't remember if that's on a forest planet or if it's with the witches. But it doesn't make sense with the witches having a lightsaber. So I can't remember. I've only seen the trailer once, so I'm very foggy on that scene. But I'm pretty sure it was in the forest. So I think we're going to see it next episode. If they don't do a flashback episode. All right, so very interesting episode. And I'm really hoping we get the conclusion of this fight and not another flashback next episode. So we have no idea what we're going to get next episode. So, but stay tuned for next week because we will cover episode 5. And yeah, so before you guys go, just remember to jump down in the description below and check out our link where we have our collaboration with entertainmentearth.com, and you can find a bunch of cool Black Series and cool Funkos and a lot of cool stuff like that. And then also our Teespring where we got some really cool designs that we have done ourselves. And also be sure to check out our social media. Check us out on Instagram and join our Discord family. So until next week, guys, we will see you. So may the Force
be with you.
Always.